This is dangerous knowledge. And the fact that you were never taught it was not an accident. What I am about to reveal was once reserved for warriors who faced death at arm's length, men who had to think clearly while their bodies were screaming to run, and operators whose survival depended on absolute control under pressure that could shatter an untrained mind. Box breathing was never meant to help you relax on a yoga mat. It was engineered, refined, and quietly passed down as a method to override panic, suppress fear, and force the brain into ruthless clarity when everything is collapsing. I need you to understand this immediately, because if you approach this like a wellness trend, it will fail you. This technique was deliberately softened, renamed, and repackaged for public consumption, stripped of its edge, because true physiological control is dangerous in the wrong hands. I am telling you this as someone who has studied the suppressed intersection between ancient warrior discipline and modern neuroscience, and I am warning you now. Once you learn how to consciously command your nervous system, you cannot unknow it. Your breath is not automatic in moments of threat. It becomes chaotic, shallow, and broken. And in that chaos, your judgment dies. You freeze, you rush, you make fatal mistakes. You have felt this before, even if no one ever explained it to you. That tightening in your chest, the tunnel vision, the shaking hands, the sense that time is either racing or frozen. That is not weakness. It is biology running without your permission. And here is the brutal truth most people never hear. The battlefield is no longer optional. Modern life places you under constant, low-level threat signals, deadlines, financial pressure, social conflict, overstimulation, and unresolved fear. And your nervous system reacts as if you are surrounded by predators. You are living in a permanent state of partial panic, and it is destroying your focus, your health, and your ability to act decisively. I am not here to comfort you with gentle language. I am here to give you a weapon that was hidden in plain sight. When warriors spoke of breath as life and death, they were not being poetic. They understood something science would only confirm centuries later. The breath is the master switch. Control it, and you control the mind. Lose it, and the mind controls you. The box breathing technique is the doorway into that control, but only if you treat it with the seriousness it demands, because under real pressure, this is not about calm, it is about survival. You are operating right now with a nervous system that is not on your side. It feels normal to you because you have lived inside it for years, but I need you to see it clearly. Your body is constantly preparing for impact that never comes, dumping stress hormones into your bloodstream, tightening your vision, accelerating your heart, and fragmenting your attention. This is not motivation. This is not drive. This is biological hijacking. Under pressure, your brain silently shuts down the very circuits you think you rely on: reasoning, perspective, long-term planning. The prefrontal cortex goes offline, and something older, faster, and far more primitive takes the wheel. You stop thinking and start reacting. That is why you say things you regret, why your memory collapses in critical moments, why your hands shake during conversations that matter, and why you feel exhausted even when nothing dramatic has happened. You are paying the metabolic cost of survival mode without ever surviving anything. Here is the uncomfortable reality. Stress is not just an emotion. It is a measurable, physiological state, and most people are stuck inside it all day long. Your breathing becomes shallow and erratic. Your carbon dioxide tolerance drops. Your blood chemistry shifts, and your brain interprets this as imminent danger. Even when you are sitting still, your body thinks you're losing a fight. Over time, this erodes confidence, sharpness, and resilience. You start avoiding pressure instead of mastering it. You call it anxiety, burnout, or overwhelm. But those are just labels slapped onto a system that has lost its internal governor. And this is why box breathing matters. Not because life is stressful, but because pressure is unavoidable. When something truly important happens, when stakes are high and consequences are real, you do not rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your physiological training. Right now, that level is low, even if you are intelligent, disciplined, or experienced. Without a method to actively regulate your internal state, every challenge feels heavier than it should, every decision feels urgent, and every mistake feels catastrophic. I am telling you this not to scare you, but to make the threat visible. You cannot think your way out of a nervous system problem. You have to breathe your way out. Now we go beneath the surface, into the mechanism that makes this technique so powerful and so feared. When you inhale and exhale without control, you are surrendering command of your nervous system to reflex circuits designed for emergency, not precision. Box breathing interrupts that reflex at its root. The moment you impose a symmetrical rhythm on your breath, equal inhale, equal hold, equal exhale, equal hold, you are sending a nonverbal signal straight into the brainstem that the environment is stable, even if it is not. This signal travels through the vagus nerve, the primary communication highway between your breath, your heart, and your brain, and it forces a recalibration of your internal threat assessment. Heart rate variability increases not as a relaxation effect, but as a sign of regained control. Blood pressure stabilizes. Cortisol release is suppressed. The prefrontal cortex, which was previously silenced by stress chemistry, begins to reactivate. Here is what most explanations leave out. The holds are not pauses, they are commands. When you hold the breath after the inhale, carbon dioxide levels rise slightly in the blood. This is not dangerous, it is corrective. Your brain has been trained by modern habits to panic at even small increases in CO2, mistaking them for suffocation. Box breathing retrains that response. It teaches your nervous system tolerance. That tolerance is the difference between composure and collapse. At the same time, the rhythmic pattern entrains your brainwaves, pulling them out of chaotic beta spikes and toward a controlled theta-dominant state, where perception sharpens and time slows subjectively. This is why trained individuals report heightened awareness instead of drowsiness. Think of your nervous system like a weapon with a hair-trigger safety. Under stress, it fires wildly. Box breathing resets the safety without turning the weapon off. You are not sedating yourself. You are stabilizing the firing mechanism. This is why elite performers use it before combat, negotiations, surgery, and crisis response. They are not calming down. They are regaining access to higher cognition, while everyone else is drowning in adrenaline. This is the science they do not explain in self-help articles, because it forces responsibility back onto you. Once you know this, panic is no longer an excuse. This is where most people fail, because they treat the protocol casually, and casual execution produces nothing. I am going to give this to you the way it was meant to be used, not the diluted version. First, your posture is not optional. You sit or stand with your spine vertical, chin slightly tucked, chest relaxed, shoulders heavy. This alignment keeps the airway open and prevents unconscious tension from hijacking the breath. You breathe through the nose only. The mouth is a panic valve. The nose is a control valve. Your tongue rests lightly against the roof of the mouth, sealing the circuit. Before you begin, you exhale fully, emptying the lungs without force, signaling the end of chaos and the start of structure. Now, the box. Inhale slowly through the nose for a count of 4, drawing the breath deep into the diaphragm, not the chest. You do not rush, you do not sip. You fill. Then you hold for 4, not clenching, not locking, but maintaining gentle internal pressure, as if suspending motion without strain. Next, you exhale for 4, controlled and complete, allowing the nervous system to register safety through consistency. Then you hold again for 4 at the bottom, lungs empty, resisting the urge to gasp. That final hold is where discipline is forged. 1 full cycle is 1 box. You repeat this for 4 to 8 cycles, no more at first. More is not better, precision is better. Your attention stays on the count and the physical sensation of the breath moving. If your mind wanders, you bring it back without frustration. This is not meditation, it is training. Common errors destroy the effect. Breathing too shallow, shortening the holds, allowing the shoulders to rise, or turning the exhale into a collapse. Each of those tells the nervous system you are still under threat. The rhythm must be clean, symmetrical, and unbroken. When done correctly, you will feel a subtle shift, not sedation, but a tightening of awareness, a sense that your internal noise has been turned down while clarity remains. This is the state warriors seek before action. The transformation does not arrive as a vague feeling. It follows a timeline, and this is how you know the protocol is working. Within the first 2 to 3 minutes, your heart rate begins to stabilize, and your breathing reflex loses its frantic edge. This is measurable. If you were being monitored, heart rate variability would rise, not because you are relaxed, but because your autonomic nervous system has shifted from chaos to command. Your hands feel steadier. Your jaw unclenches. The sense of urgency softens without disappearing. You are still alert, but no longer hunted by your own biology. After several days of consistent practice, something more important happens. Your baseline changes. Stressful events that once triggered immediate panic now produce a delay, a brief window where you can choose how to respond. That window is everything. Cortisol spikes are shorter. Recovery is faster. You stop carrying the residue of stress from one situation into the next. Sleep quality improves not because you are exhausted, but because your nervous system remembers how to shut down properly when the threat is gone. This is neural conditioning, not positive thinking. Over weeks, the effects compound. Your tolerance for pressure increases. Situations that once felt overwhelming begin to feel manageable, even familiar. The brain learns that elevated heart rate and adrenaline do not automatically mean danger. Focus under stress becomes sharper, not narrower. This is the state elite performers describe when they say they feel locked in. It is not confidence as an emotion. It is confidence as a physiological condition. And once your body learns this pattern, it becomes easier to access it on demand. The breath becomes a trigger for clarity. That is the real timeline of transformation, and it only belongs to those who practice with intent. This is where the technique separates those who merely cope from those who dominate pressure. When your breathing is under control, fear loses its authority. Fear does not vanish, but it stops dictating your behavior. Pain feels different. Emotional spikes flatten. You can hear aggression without absorbing it, chaos without becoming part of it. This is not emotional numbness. It is emotional sovereignty. Box breathing creates a buffer between stimulus and response, and inside that buffer lives choice. While others are reacting, you are observing. While others are escalating, you are calculating. Under intense stress, the untrained mind collapses inward. Attention narrows, mistakes multiply, and the world feels hostile and fast. With trained breathing, the opposite happens. Perception widens. Time stretches just enough to allow clean decisions. This is why it has been used in combat environments, crisis medicine, and high-stakes negotiation. When everyone else is leaking energy through panic, you conserve it. When others raise their voice, you lower your breath. That contrast alone gives you psychological leverage. There is also a darker truth that few will admit. Mastering this gives you an edge that feels unfair. You can remain calm in situations designed to provoke fear. You can apply pressure without being consumed by it. This is why such methods were historically restricted to warrior classes and initiates. A calm mind in chaos is power. Not mystical power, but functional, repeatable dominance over your internal state. Once you experience this, you will recognize panic in others instantly, and you will no longer be controlled by it in yourself. Now comes the challenge, and this is where most people hesitate, because this is where responsibility replaces curiosity. You cannot treat this as something you try once and forget. If you do, it will abandon you when you need it most. I am challenging you to use box breathing under real pressure, not in comfort, not in silence, but when your heart is racing and your instincts are screaming. That is the only environment where this protocol proves itself. The first time you feel stress rising, you will want to speed up, shorten the counts, or quit. That impulse is the enemy. You hold the structure anyway. You impose order on your breath, and through it, you impose order on your mind. Practice it daily when calm, so it is available when chaos hits. Use it before difficult conversations, before critical decisions, before moments you normally avoid. This is not self-care. This is conditioning. You are training your nervous system to recognize that pressure does not equal danger. Over time, this rewires how you meet the world. You stop flinching. You stop rushing. You stop giving control to circumstances that do not deserve it. Understand this clearly. This technique does not make life easier. It makes you harder to destabilize. That is why it was hidden, softened, and mislabeled. You now have access to it, and access creates obligation. Either you apply it and change how you operate under stress, or you ignore it and remain at the mercy of your biology. The breath is always there. The question is whether you command it or whether it commands you.